My fiancée said, "I'm not ready for a commitment." I replied, "I understand." Then I sold the engagement ring and used my share of the wedding fund to start a company with my best friend. 2 years later, she was frantically texting, "I've made a mistake," after seeing my success. I'm a 30-year-old guy, or I was when all this started. Now I'm 32, and honestly, I never thought my life would turn into something worth posting on Reddit, but here we are. 2 years ago, I was on the cusp of everything I thought I wanted. I had a good job in project management, a great group of friends, and a fiancée, Catherine, then 28. We'd been together for 5 years. We had the whole thing planned: the wedding, the reception, the honeymoon. We had a joint wedding fund we'd both been contributing to, which had hit $30,000. Separately, I'd been aggressively saving for a down payment on a house, socking away about $20,000 on my own. I'd also spent nearly $12,000 on a custom engagement ring, a piece I'd helped design myself. It was a Tuesday night. We were on the couch eating Thai food, the comfortable silence punctuated by some reality show. Then she muted the TV, turned to me, and her expression made my stomach clench. "I can't do this," she said, her voice trembling. I genuinely thought she meant the show. "Yeah, this season is pretty bad." I remember chuckling. She shook her head, tears welling. "No, Christian. Us, the wedding. I'm not ready for a commitment." The phrase hung in the air, thick and suffocating. "Not ready? Catherine, the wedding is in 4 months. We've put down deposits." "I know," she whispered, staring at her lap. I feel trapped. I need to find myself. I need to be on my own for a while." It was the ultimate cliché, the one that means it's not me, it's you, except it's totally you. I asked if there was someone else. She swore there wasn't, that this was about her own journey, her fear of losing her identity in the we of our relationship. I'm not a screamer. I don't throw things. My brain just goes into triage mode. The patient was our relationship, and she had just pronounced it dead. There was nothing to salvage. So I just looked at her and said, "I understand." I think the lack of a fight shocked her. She was prepared for begging, for anger. All I gave her was quiet acceptance. If someone doesn't want to be in the boat with you, you don't beg them to stay. You just start rowing. The days that followed were a surreal hell of logistics. Canceling vendors, getting what little deposit money we could back, calling our parents. It was a masterclass in humiliation. Her parents, especially her mother, were icy towards me, hinting that I must have done something to drive her to this. Catherine and I met at a coffee shop for the final financial split. We divided the balance of our regular account. Then we looked at the $30,000 wedding fund. "I guess we just split this down the middle," she said, unable to meet my eyes. "That's fair," I said. I initiated the transfer of my $15,000 share right there on my banking app. She then slid the engagement ring across the table. It glittered under the fluorescent lights, a tiny monument to a dead future. "You should have this." "It's a custom piece," I stated, my voice flat. "The jeweler won't give a full refund." "Oh," she said, a flicker of annoyance in her eyes. "Well, do whatever you want with it." So I did. The next day, I sold it to a different jeweler. They gave me $7,000 for it. Seeing the value plummet like that was painful, but the check in my hand was real. That night, my best friend Sean came over to my half-empty apartment. I was surrounded by boxes of her stuff, drinking a beer. Sean, a brilliant coder stuck in a soul-crushing IT helpdesk job, had been dreaming of us starting a software consultancy for years. He had the technical genius. I had the project management and sales background. We just lacked the capital. He saw the $7,000 check on the table next to my laptop, which showed the new balance in my savings account. I'd combined everything: my $15,000 from the wedding fund, the $7,000 from the ring, and my own $20,000 house fund. A grand total of $42,000. Sean's eyes lit up. "Dude, this is it. This is our shot. Apex Solutions. We can do it." It was a terrifying thought, to take all the money I had in the world, the remnants of a failed life plan, and bet it all on a high-risk venture. But then I looked at my silent apartment, at the future that had been erased. A blank page is a scary thing, but it's also an opportunity. "Okay," I said, "let's do it." The next 6 months were a blur. We operated out of my spare bedroom. Our diet consisted of coffee, cheap pizza, and pure adrenaline. I built the website, cold called potential clients, and handled the business end. Sean coded until his eyes burned. That $42 was our runway. It paid for our business registration, high-end laptops, software licenses, and kept us barely alive while we underbid on our first few small projects, just to build a portfolio. Slowly, it started to work. We landed a decent contract, then another. Our reputation grew. By the end of the first year, we had enough consistent work to move out of my apartment and into a small 2-desk office in a co-working space. By the 2-year mark, we had just hired our first 2 employees, a junior developer and a part-time admin. We weren't rich, but we were profitable. We were building something real. I hadn't heard from Catherine. I'd blocked her on everything, not out of spite, but for my own sanity. I'd heard through friends she'd been traveling, dating some guy, living her authentic life. Good for her. Then last week, a local business blog published a feature on up-and-coming tech firms. There was a picture of me and Sean, looking exhausted but happy, in our little office. They called us a bootstrap success story. And then my phone buzzed. A number I didn't recognize. I saw the article. "You look good." It was Catherine. I didn't reply. A few hours later, I've been thinking a lot about us. About everything. Still nothing from me. Then came this morning's text. A novel-length monologue about how she'd made a terrible mistake, how her mother had poisoned her mind, how her artistic boyfriend was a leech, and how finding herself was just a euphemism for being lonely and broke. It ended with the line that sparked this whole post. "I've made a mistake, Christian. A huge mistake. I see the man you've become, and I want to be with him." I read it over and over. The man she left wouldn't have known what to do. But the man I am now, the one who survived the fire and built a business from the ashes, I felt a profound, chilling silence. I haven't answered. I don't plan to. So Reddit, Ida for using my life savings to build a future she didn't want a part of. And how do I handle the person who is now trying to claim a ticket for a train that's already left the station? Update 1. First, thanks for the incredible response. It's been validating to know I'm not crazy. The overwhelming advice was to maintain radio silence and lawyer up. That was my plan, but my antagonists, it seems, are more proactive than I thought. After a week of silence following her texts, I assumed Catherine got the message. Apex was in the middle of a major project, so my focus was entirely on work. The quiet was a relief. But then came the email. Not to me, but to my business partner, Sean. It was from Catherine's mother, Jacqueline. Yes, really. The subject, a mother's concern. The email was a work of art. It painted Catherine as a fragile, heartbroken victim who had been manipulated not by Jacqueline, but by the pressures of a world that tells young women they have to sacrifice their identity. It went on to praise Sean for his loyalty to me, and then pivoted, saying, "I know Christian is a good man, but he can be single-minded." Catherine supported him emotionally through the years he was planning his next steps. It seems only fair that her foundational support in his journey is acknowledged. Sean forwarded it to me with the simple message, "Get ready, the crazy is mobilizing." We ignored it. Then the following weekend, Sean and I were at a local tech meetup, an event we attend regularly. As I was getting a coffee, a voice behind me said my name. I turned. It was Catherine. She looked tired. The bohemian chic she was going for seemed more like a costume than a lifestyle. It was no coincidence. She knew we'd be here. "Christian," she said, forcing a smile. "I know you're ignoring me, but can we please just talk for 5 minutes? Please?" Sean materialized at my side looking like a bulldog ready to pounce. I gave him a slight nod that meant stay close. 5 minutes, I said, and we stepped into the hallway. The moment we were alone, the facade crumbled. Tears streamed down her face. "Everything I texted is true, Christian. I was an idiot. My mom, the world. I got scared. I threw away the only real thing in my life." I waited. "And?" My voice was flat, devoid of emotion. "And I want us to try again," she pleaded. "Look at what you've done. Apex is amazing. I always knew you could do it. I want to be a part of it. Your partner, in every way." There it was. She saw the article, the success, the potential. She didn't miss me. She missed my upward trajectory. "A part of it?" I asked, my voice dangerously quiet. "Catherine, you forfeited your right to be a part of my life. You wanted independence. You wanted to find yourself. I gave you that. I respected your decision. Now you need to respect mine." Her expression shifted instantly from sorrow to indignation. The tears stopped as if on command. I helped you. That was our wedding money. Money for our future. I let out a short, sharp laugh. No, it wasn't. It was money in a joint account that we legally divided. I used my half for my contributions. You used your half to go on a 3-month tour of Thailand with that artist, didn't you? That was your choice. This was mine. Her face flushed with anger. You're twisting things. You're being cruel to punish me. No, I said, looking her dead in the eye. I'm not punishing you. I'm protecting myself. I'm protecting Sean, and I'm protecting our employees. My 5 minutes are up. I turned and walked back to the meetup, leaving her standing in the hallway. Sean just handed me my cold coffee, and we got back to networking. I knew this wasn't the end. The sense of entitlement was too strong. This was a calculated campaign, and I had a sickening feeling that they were just getting started. The first thing I did on Monday was call a lawyer, David, a specialist in business litigation. This was no longer a personal issue. It was a business threat. Update 2, hello, Reddit. Things went from bad to worse, and then they got strategic. Our lawyer, David, confirmed our position was legally sound. Catherine had zero claim, but he gave us a stark warning. Legality doesn't stop people from trying to ruin you. Document everything. Do not engage. We followed his advice. But the next attack was far more insidious than a confrontation at a meetup. It was a direct assault on our livelihood. It came from Jacqueline. She is, as it turns out, deviously clever. She called our office line. Our part-time admin, a sweet college kid named Terry, answered. Jacqueline put on her best, doting, potential client voice. She claimed to be a senior executive at a major corporation looking for a new software partner. She flattered Terry, praised our company's profile in the blog, and said before she could move forward she needed to do her due diligence and speak to a few of our current partners to verify the quality of our work. Sean, who took the escalated call, is a tech genius but can be too trusting. Flattered by the prospect of a massive client, he gave her the names of 2 of our key accounts. We didn't realize the trap until a week later. I got a call from Mr. Lawrence, the CEO of our largest client. He sounded grave. Christian, I got a very disturbing anonymous email about you and your company's origins. He forwarded it. It was a masterpiece of character assassination. It claimed I had unscrupulously liquidated joint marital assets from my grieving vulnerable fiancée to start the company. It painted me as a cold, manipulative sociopath. It was filled with just enough truth, mentioning the broken engagement and the wedding fund to make the lies seem plausible. They had sent it to the clients whose names they'd tricked Sean into revealing. My blood ran ice cold. This wasn't just an attack on me. This was an attempt to sabotage our company, to hurt Sean, to jeopardize the jobs of our employees. My calm evaporated. In its place was a cold, focused rage. The war was on, and I was going to finish it. Step 1, the cease and desist. David drafted and sent a brutal C&D letter to both Catherine and Jacqueline via certified mail. It detailed their harassment, the fraudulent phone call to obtain client information, a potential wire fraud issue, and the defamatory emails. It made it clear that any further action would trigger a lawsuit for defamation, libel, and tortious interference with business relations. Step 2, the truth offensive. I immediately called the clients who had been contacted. I was calm and professional. I explained that I was the target of a malicious harassment campaign by an ex-partner stemming from a breakup years ago. I didn't share the dirty details, I just stated the facts. Thankfully, our relationship with them was strong. They saw it for what it was, a desperate personal attack, and stood by us. But the damage was done. The trust had been breached. Step 3. The lawsuit trap. As David predicted, the C&D didn't stop them. It just made them formalize their attack. A few weeks later, I was served. Catherine was suing me, not for a piece of the company, but for the return of her $15,000 plus damages for emotional distress and unjust enrichment, claiming I had coerced her during a vulnerable time. David was almost gleeful. They've delivered their own head on a platter, he said. We're going to get this dismissed, and then we are going to make them pay for every single cent of our time. The legal process was a slow, expensive grind. But Apex was on a retainer with David's firm. We had the resources. Catherine and her parents were paying their lawyer out of pocket. Every motion, every filing from our end was a direct drain on their bank account. The deposition was the turning point. David, armed with a mountain of evidence, was a surgeon. David, Miss Miller, did you willingly accept a transfer of $15,000 into your personal account on date? Yes, but... And is it not true, Miss Miller, that you used those funds to travel Asia for 3 months with a new partner within weeks of the breakup? She had to admit it. The color drained from her face. He then had her describe the phone call her mother made to our office, and her story didn't align with the recording Terry had made of the call. Our admin records all incoming business inquiries. When confronted with the recording, she crumbled. Her lawyer saw the case evaporating. A week later, they dropped the suit. But we didn't. David immediately filed a motion for sanctions, demanding they cover our entire legal bill due to the frivolous and malicious nature of the lawsuit. The judge, having reviewed the evidence of the fraudulent call and the defamatory emails, agreed. Catherine and Jacqueline were suddenly on the hook for over $20,000 in my legal fees. The very money Catherine was trying to claw back from me had become a debt she now owed my lawyer, with interest. Her greed didn't just fail, it backfired spectacularly. Final update. It's been 2 years since my last update, and a full 5 years since I sat in that quiet, empty apartment. Life moves on in ways you never expect. I wanted to post a final chapter for those who followed along. The fallout was exactly as David predicted. Slow, grinding, and absolute. The court order to pay my legal fees wrecked Catherine and her family. Doris, a mutual friend who stayed in touch, gave me the grim summary. Jacqueline and her husband had to take out a high-interest second mortgage to pay the initial judgment. It wiped out a huge chunk of their retirement savings. The financial stress, coupled with the sheer humiliation of their scheme being exposed, fractured their family. Jacqueline blames Catherine's emotional weakness. Catherine blames Jacqueline's manipulative plans. Their codependent alliance shattered under the weight of real-world consequences. Catherine is paying off the debt in court-ordered monthly installments. It's a significant portion of her salary from her retail job. She had to give up her apartment and move back home. The home that is now a source of daily tension and resentment. The friends who once offered her sympathy saw the depths of her actions and quietly faded away. She is, by all accounts, bitter and isolated. There was no epiphany, no change of heart, just the quiet, suffocating reality of a hole she dug for herself. As for me, the last few years have been a different kind of grind, a good one. Apex Solutions isn't a tech unicorn, but it's a real, durable success story. We have a team of 18 brilliant people, we have a great office, a stable of long-term clients, and a reputation for integrity. That feels better than being a billionaire. Knowing we built it the right way, that we provide a great workplace for almost 20 families, is a success that feels solid and earned. On a personal level, I finally found a true partner. Her name is Hannah. She's a structural engineer, a woman who understands foundations. I told her this entire insane story on our third date, wanting to lay all the cards on the table. She listened intently, took a sip of her wine, and said, "Good thing you're good at documentation." She sounds like a nightmare. There was no fear, no judgment, just an immediate understanding. Being with her is easy. It's a partnership of equals, built on respect, not obligation. We live together. We're building a life. We haven't talked about marriage, and for the first time in my life, I don't feel like that's the inevitable goal. The goal is the partnership itself. I learned that commitment isn't a contract you sign or a party you throw. It's the quiet, daily choice to protect and support someone. And it's realizing when someone has made the choice to do the opposite. There was no final, dramatic confrontation, just the slow, inevitable conclusion. They tried to burn down my new life. In the end, all they did was provide the fuel for me to build it even stronger, while they were left with nothing but the bill for the matches. Thanks for reading, Reddit. It's been a hell of a ride.